It started with a sigh. That kind of heavy, drawn-out exhale that only someone like her could produce. I was halfway through my coffee, just settling into my seat by the window, when the sound came from across the aisle. I looked over. There she was. Perfectly styled blonde curls, oversized sunglasses indoors, and a resting expression that practically screamed manager energy. Karen. Of course, I didn't know her name yet, but you can just tell sometimes. Like the universe gives you a quiet heads up. She was already waving down the flight attendant before we'd even taken off. This seat is unacceptable, she huffed, pointing dramatically toward the armrest. It doesn't go up all the way. The flight attendant, a woman named Lisa, young, calm, patient to a fault, smiled like she'd been through this rodeo before. Ma'am, once we reach cruising altitude, I can help you find a more comfortable position. Right now, we need to remain seated for takeoff. Karen's jaw tightened. So you're saying you can't do your job right now? Lisa didn't flinch. I'm saying I'll help you as soon as it's safe to move about the cabin. I could feel the tension ripple through our section of the plane. A couple of passengers exchanged that silent smirk. The one that says, "Here we go." We took off, the engines humming under our feet, but Karen wasn't done. Not even close. Once the seatbelt sign clicked off, she stood abruptly, her designer purse knocking into the headrest in front of her. "Excuse me," she barked, waving Lisa over again. "You can move me now. I want business class. I shouldn't have to sit next to—" She glanced sideways at the older man beside her. "Someone eating that." Lisa blinked, polite as ever. "Ma'am, business class is full today. I can offer you a drink instead." Karen scoffed. "Unbelievable. I spend good money, and this is how I'm treated? Get me your supervisor." Lisa kept her voice steady. "On this flight, ma'am, that would be the captain." The way Karen's eyes lit up, I swear, she took that as a personal challenge. "Then call him. I'll have this handled properly." Lisa gave a small nod, the kind you give when you're about to do something professional but deeply regrettable. She turned and disappeared toward the cockpit. Karen crossed her arms triumphantly. Finally, someone's going to fix this mess. I sipped my coffee, watching her, equal parts fascinated and horrified. Something told me this flight was about to hit more than just air turbulence. A few minutes later, Lisa returned, not alone. Behind her was the captain himself, tall, calm, and wearing that quiet authority that made everyone else sit up straighter. "Ma'am," he said evenly, "I'm Captain Reynolds. I understand there's a problem?" Karen turned on her full-volume charm. "Yes, your flight attendant was rude and refused to help me. I want her removed, right now." You could almost taste the silence after the captain's words. Every passenger suddenly found their seatbelt very interesting. Even Karen sat frozen for a moment, jaw slightly open, disbelief flickering across her face like static. But people like her don't stay quiet long. "I'm being harassed," she finally declared, loud enough for the back row to hear. "You're all witnessing this. I'll be filing a report the moment we land." The captain didn't flinch. "That's your right, ma'am. In the meantime, please remain seated." He gave Lisa a small nod, then turned to leave. The tension deflated just slightly, until Karen's hand shot out, grabbing the edge of Lisa's uniform sleeve. "You're not walking away from me," she hissed. "You think a cheap smile makes up for your incompetence?" Lisa gently pulled her arm free. "Ma'am, please don't touch me." And that tiny sentence was the spark. Karen's face flushed crimson. "Don't touch me? How dare you speak to me that way? I've been flying longer than you've probably been alive." I couldn't help it. A laugh slipped out of me, quiet but very audible in the hush of the cabin. Karen's head snapped in my direction like a hawk spotting prey. "Something funny?" she snapped. I raised my hands. "Just the irony." She glared daggers. "You people are all the same. You think it's okay to disrespect customers?" "Customers," I said evenly, "don't usually threaten the crew midair." Her mouth opened but no sound came out, just a strangled gasp of indignation. Lisa, clearly at her limit, turned toward the galley, but Karen wasn't done. The moment Lisa reached for a tray, Karen reached too, and the cup of hot coffee she'd been served went flying. It wasn't a full cup, but it was enough. The liquid splashed across Lisa's sleeve and onto the metal counter. She recoiled with a soft gasp, eyes wide more from shock than pain. "Oh my God," I muttered. "You didn't just—" Karen's voice boomed over me. "That was an accident. She moved." Half the plane gasped. The other half froze, waiting for what would happen next. Lisa just stood there, trembling slightly but refusing to show weakness. The captain's expression didn't change. "Removed? From a plane that's already airborne? Her lips tightened. Well, that's not my problem, is it? A silence fell over the cabin. Heavy. Expectant. I could feel my pulse quicken. Lisa stood motionless beside him, her professionalism unshaken. The captain took a slow breath, then leaned slightly closer to Karen's row. "Ma'am," he said, his voice calm but sharp as steel, "you might want to reconsider how you'd like this flight to continue." Karen blinked, caught off guard for the first time. "Excuse me?" The captain straightened up, his tone final. "Because right now, your behavior is the only turbulence we're dealing with." And just like that, the cabin went quiet. "What happened?" the captain repeated, his tone low, calm, the kind of calm that usually comes right before a storm. Lisa didn't speak at first. She looked down, then met his eyes. "She threw coffee at me, sir." Karen gasped dramatically, clutching her pearls like she was auditioning for a soap opera. "That is a lie. I would never— She moved into it. It was an accident." The captain's gaze didn't waver. He crouched down, picked up the empty paper cup, and placed it gently on the cart. "Ma'am," he said, "I need you to stay seated and keep your hands to yourself. We'll be speaking again when we land." Karen crossed her arms tightly. "You can't talk to me like that. I'm a paying customer." "You're also disrupting the safety of this flight," he replied, voice calm as steel. "That's not negotiable." For a second, she opened her mouth like she was going to argue again, but something in his eyes stopped her. Maybe it was the quiet authority. Maybe the realization that this wasn't a customer service standoff. It was federal territory now. He turned to Lisa. "You okay?" She nodded, blinking fast, holding back tears. "Yes, sir. Just a bit shaken." The captain gave her a small nod. Protective, not pitying. Then faced the rest of us. "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the disturbance. We'll be resuming service shortly." The passengers murmured reassurances. A few gave Lisa a small smile or a thumbs up. But Karen? She sat back in her seat, muttering under her breath, pulling out her phone like she was about to call corporate mid-flight. For the next half hour, the cabin stayed tense. Every clink of a cup or rustle of a bag made people glance her way. Lisa continued her duties quietly, professional as ever, though I could tell she was on edge. I wanted to say something comforting, but I didn't want to make things worse, so I just gave her a nod when she passed. A silent I saw what happened. "You're not alone." Then, mid-flight, the intercom clicked on. "This is your captain speaking," came Reynolds' voice, calm but firm. "We'll be making an unscheduled landing shortly due to a passenger disturbance. Please remain seated." A ripple of whispers spread like wildfire. Karen's eyes widened. "What? No, 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 you can't do that. I didn't do anything." Lisa avoided her gaze, busying herself with collecting empty cups. Karen shot up from her seat, voice rising again. "This is harassment. You'll all regret this. I'll sue." The captain's voice cut through the noise again, firmer this time. "Ma'am, sit down immediately." The authority in his tone was absolute. She froze, then sat, trembling, muttering, but finally quiet. I glanced out the window. The clouds were thinning, the ground below growing closer. The plane began its descent, smooth but deliberate, and for the first time Karen looked scared. The moment the wheels touched the runway, the cabin filled with that strange, heavy silence, the kind that follows chaos. You could almost feel everyone holding their breath, waiting to see what came next. We weren't supposed to land there. It was a small regional airport, not even on our route. But the captain taxied the plane off the main strip and came to a stop in a quiet corner of the tarmac. Lisa stood near the front, still composed but pale, her sleeve stained faintly brown where the coffee had hit earlier. Karen sat rigid in her seat, clutching her handbag like it was a lifeline. The rest of us just watched, silent, alert, pretending not to stare, but unable to look away. Then over the intercom, "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. Law enforcement will be boarding the aircraft momentarily." The law enforcement part made Karen's face drain of color. "Wait, what? You're calling the police?" Lisa didn't answer. She just stepped aside as the cabin door opened with a hiss. Two officers climbed aboard. Calm, professional, but unmistakably there for a reason. One looked directly at Karen. "Ma'am, would you come with us, please?" Karen let out a shocked laugh. "You can't be serious. Me, I'm the victim here. That flight attendant assaulted me." The officer's expression didn't change. "We've been informed of what happened, ma'am. We need to speak to you off the aircraft." Karen looked around, desperate for support. Did anyone see what really happened? No one spoke. Not one passenger. Even the man she'd insulted earlier just folded his hands and looked out the window. I'll have your jobs for this, she stammered, as the officers gently but firmly guided her up the aisle. You'll never fly again. Any of you. Lisa stood quietly, watching her go, her posture straight and calm. The captain appeared from the cockpit, just as Karen was led down the stairs. He spoke softly to the officers, then turned to the rest of us. Thank you for your patience, folks. We'll be back in the air shortly. Applause broke out. Not loud or mocking, just quiet, respectful. Lisa blinked rapidly, trying not to cry. When the doors finally closed and the engines rumbled back to life, the captain made one more announcement. His voice was even, but there was a faint note of finality to it. For your information, the passenger removed from this flight will not be permitted to fly with our airline again. Ever. You could hear a collective exhale of relief sweep through the cabin. As we took off again, Lisa passed by to check on everyone. When she reached me, I smiled. You handled that like a pro. She gave a small laugh, tired but real. You get used to people like that, but I'll admit, I've never seen one get banned for life mid-flight. I leaned back, staring out the window as the clouds swallowed us again. Somewhere below, Karen was probably still yelling into her phone, demanding managers that didn't exist. And up here, peace, absolute peace. Don't forget to subscribe to Only Karens for more dramatic stories and crazy Karen moments.